Hello, and welcome to another Scottish mountain walking guide. Thankfully, it's a return to the sunshine and blue skies, with the occasional rain shower thrown in for good measure. Today's walk is to the less famous Wee Aonach Eagach ridge, and it includes two Munros, Stob Ghabhar and Stob Ghabhar. The start of the walk is just outside Bridge of Orchy, about an hour and 30 minutes drive from Glasgow. As always, I've included links in the description to the route on OS Maps and the parking on Google Maps. The start of the walk is from the Victoria Bridge car park, and parking is free. There is space for around 20 cars, and at the time of making the video there is 3 portaloos. The total distance for today's walk is 16.5 kilometres with around 1240 metres of ascent, and it is expected to take around 8 hours to walk. I used a mountain bike for the start and was able to cycle around 2.5 kilometres of the way, and this reduced the overall walking time down to just under 7 hours. So starting at the car park, if you're walking you can leave the car park at the back going through the woods, but if you're cycling then you want to come out the car parks, retrace your steps back to the main road and then turn to your left. You'll see a sign here saying no more vehicular access, but you're free to cycle down the road. You follow the road, you'll cross a bridge here, and then you follow the road up. You'll see a sign for the public footpath going to the left. There's a house here as well, and at that point you will turn to the left. The road here is a very pebbly road, and it looks like there's been recently more pebbles, like sea pebbles, added, so it's a bit loose underfoot and it's not the best surface to cycle on. Follow that road, and it's quite obvious, it's quite clear, and then you'll see here what was an old schoolhouse. It's now a climbing mountaineering hut, a very small hut. It's green. When you see that hut, this looks like a road. It's actually just a trail in the grass, quite boggy to start with, but you turn off to the right and follow that up. I left my bike around about here because it wasn't the type of trail that I would like to ride my bike on, so I walked from here on up. It did get a bit better further on, but there was other bits that would have been difficult for me to cycle on. You keep going up and you will notice there's a very small cairn here which marks the descent path that you'll come back down on later. It shows on the map there's a path here, but when I was coming down it was much easier to cross the stream further up, and there was a very clear track on the other side. So keep following this path up to the right, and you'll keep going until you cross the stream here. This was a point that when I filled up with water, there is another stream further up that you can refill your water on. But as soon as you cross the stream here, you go immediately up and follow the path up the hillside. It then starts to zig and zag, which is a relief because it is quite steep, and you continue to follow that all the way up to the summit. From here you do have a great view over Rannoch Moor, and from this point you're going to then turn to your left and descend to the west, very slightly south of west. And the path was quite clear to follow at this point, and especially as you get near the edge here. It gets a little bit steeper, but there's nothing difficult when you're coming down here. No scrambling, a couple of big steps, but nothing challenging at all. It's a straightforward walk down there. All the way along here, there's one little section where it's quite rocky and the path seems to go to the south, and actually you would cut round a little bit, but it's not difficult, and you'll see the path in the distance as long as it's not completely covered in cloud. And you follow that up and round, and when you get to see this lock in here you're going to turn more to the left, and this is just a natural progression of the path. It does get a little bit steeper up here, but there's none of this is scrambling or any climbing. There's no exposure, it's just quite a steep slope. There's a rocky section in the middle that might be more difficult to follow the path, but there are a number of different paths going up at different points, so it's fairly straightforward to get all the way up to the top here. The ridge along here, on the Wee Aonach Eagach ridge, there are some parts that are a little bit exposed, but it's nothing too serious, and only if there was significant like gale force winds and you were at risk of getting blown off would you have any concerns going across this ridge. It's for the most part quite broad and quite easy to walk over. And you continue to follow that. You'll join up with a fence line. You'll see some posts from a fence line, and at that point you're just going to turn to your right and follow the path all the way up to the summit of Stob Ghabhar. Then from here it's just return down. The fence line goes straight on, but you don't want to follow the fence line. Some people have, but the path actually goes back along the ridge slightly, and there's a cairn here and it's clear from there. You can see the path going down from the cairn, so head directly south and then follow that all the way down. And it bends from time to time, but it's very obvious and very clear, that path. And then you'll come down to here and you're at the side of a magnificent big waterfall. And stay to the south side of the waterfall, so keeping to your right as you approach that waterfall. There are signs on the other side of a path, but I mean this side was very easy to descend, so I would just keep to the south of the waterfall. And there's big like flumes where the water chutes are running down the mountain here, and you come further down. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning, there is a path on the map here, but for me it was very easy to cross this stream and a very clear path going down the other side, so I followed that path. When you come right down to this bit where you cross the water, you come down. This could be a bit trickier if there's been a lot of rain recently. Some of the stepping stones that I stepped on were under the surface of the water, so if there was a lot of water and the stream level was higher, it could be quite tricky to cross here. So you might have to work your way up a little bit to find a suitable crossing point and then join the path that you approached the mountain on in the first place. So you follow that path and just retrace your steps back down to the old schoolhouse, back along to the house, turn right and then back down to the Victoria Bridge car park. And with that we'll go across to the time lapse from the walk. Good morning, I've just arrived at the Victoria Bridge car park. Going to climb the Wee Aonach Eagach ridge today, and it is such a beautiful morning. The weather today is meant to be very mixed. It's meant to be nice to start with, but some heavy thunderclouds and rain and a lot of wind coming in today. So I'm going to go and get some breakfast and then try and make an early start, cycle the first part of the walk and then get up onto the mountains as quickly as possible. The time is now 6:20 in the morning. You can see the clouds coming over. It's meant to be excellent visibility, but then heavy thunderstorms. So leaving the car park, certainly the perfect start to the day. As you approach the car park, there's a clear sign, and then it's a private road beyond this point, and this is the way for the walk. This is the bridge you cross. The sun's just went into a little bit of cloud briefly. It's a very nice place to come for a walk, again without having to climb up a Munro. Nice woodland. Yeah, beautiful scenery. When you see this house, there's also a sign for the public footpath to Loch Etive, so that's where we want to turn to the left and follow the gravel trail. Stob Ghabhar is straight ahead. The top is probably out of view behind a bit. And then Stob Ghabhar is up there, centre of frame about now. That ridge that you can see the sunlight on and the cliffs at the end there, the crags, that is the small Aonach Eagach ridge. We don't actually go up the majority of that. Right in the centre of frame there's a ridge further back. You then come up onto that Aonach Eagach ridge about 3/4 of the way up, and from there to ascend to the summit of the second Munro. Just approaching the old schoolhouse, which is now a private mountaineering hut. After that, turn right and head up the trail up to the mountain. It forks, or the path splits for left and right just as the sort of two mountains get close to the centre of the screen there. I'll see how far we can cycle up this path. So at the junction there is a signpost missing the sign. I'm going to walk over this bit. It's meant to be a bit boggy to start with, but then gets better. We'll see if it does. I came up this trail a little bit from the schoolhouse. It's not my kind of cycling, so that's 2.5 kilometres from the car park. The total walk today is about 16 kilometres, so if you take off the 5 kilometres cycling, actual walking will be about 11k. Going to head up, go up that ridge. Might actually be the one further back, probably is, and then go along the ridge and up behind and come back down. As predicted, there are clouds coming in. They're meant to stay quite high, so hopefully I have good visibility, and I do want to get up there quite quick before the thunderstorms start. There's a small cairn that marks the fork in the path. I'm going to go in an anti-clockwise direction. Coming back down, we come down the side of those waterfalls and then join back up to the path here. The route goes straight ahead and then crosses a little stream and then goes straight up the edge of that hillside there. There is another path that goes a lot wider and then zigzags back, but the walking path is straight up until you join the zigzags, and then you zigzag the top sort of third of that ridge there, just where the sunlight is hitting the hillside. We get up to the top and then we'll make our way to the left all the way along the ridge at the back there. So immediately after crossing that stream, there's a very small cairn and the path heads up now. I think once we get to the top of this one and we come all the way back down to the same height we're at the moment, going across that ridge that's closest to us, just in the sunlight, and that takes us up onto Wee Aonach. I do not think it's the one further back. Weather's holding up so far. I think I've got about 3 more hours before it gets quite wild. The going is getting a little bit easier now we're on the zigzags. It was quite steep back there, views are nice, breeze is very welcome. Probably only about halfway up, maybe a wee bit more. Just under 600 metres of altitude. The summit is at 930 metres, so 2/3 of the way up almost. I think I can now see the summit. It's there or thereabouts. You can also see the summit of Stob Ghabhar. It's the highest point over there. I'm going to zoom in. So that ridge in the centre of the frame, that's where we go up onto Aonach Eagach. So it's a fairly steep section, that bit, and I think that's the trickiest part of the whole walk. But I don't recall there being any scrambling. And I'll see what it's like today. Well, after last week's walk and the week before, I'm glad it's clear and sunny. Not far to go now. Wind has picked up, but the views have also opened up. I've come up from that direction and I've just joined the descent path that takes you down and up onto Aonach Eagach. The summit is just over there, maybe another 50 metres. So just approaching the summit of Stob Ghabhar. And it's quite common the place. It's windy at the summit and just come off the summit to get out the wind. So, absolutely stunning views from here. So Aonach Eagach, it looks like it's almost all water from this view. And as I go round to the left, in tomorrow's Munros, Wee Aonach and Creesha. Quite a short walk tomorrow. But whilst the weather is supposedly forecast to be good, try and get a couple of walks in, make up for the weekends that are not so good. It's extremely windy, but the wind is not cold, it's mild. It's amazing that you can come only 3 or 4 metres from where I was standing taking that panorama and just get out of the wind, and it's so calm. So from here, go straight down, and I'll zoom in a little bit. So you go straight down that bit there, path goes down, goes along there, and then it goes up that edge, up onto Aonach Eagach. Then you go straight on beyond there, and then turn right up to Stob Ghabhar. And from the summit, you're heading, it's almost directly west, just very slightly south. So it's west, 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 slightly south of west. The path gets a bit faint on your way down here. If you can see it, you're going for that middle bit of ridge over there. The time is now 8:35, so it took just over 2 hours to get to that top. That is including cycling a section, which probably saves you about 40 minutes. If you're walking, it'd be a bit longer. If the weather's not so clear and you come to this point, there's a faint track going straight ahead there. We want to keep to the right. We want to be heading basically towards that little lock-in that's in the distance there, in that general direction. This is definitely a very pleasant section of the walk. Beautiful scenery ahead, out of that direct wind. Nice breeze to keep you cool. Yeah, once again, doesn't get much better. Just making my way down here, starting to get a little bit steeper, but nothing tricky at all so far. It does look like you could alter the route slightly, and straight ahead you could go to the right and maybe up onto that ridge, and then follow that up and do that long walk up there. That would make for a nice walk. I'm going to do it the more direct route so I can show you just how steep it is going up onto the Aonach Eagach, the wee ridge. Descending down there is just a gentle stroll. Occasionally some slippy rock to be careful of, and some bigger steps, but nothing difficult on that descent. Not so far. The wee Aonach Eagach ridge looks more impressive from this angle. You can't see how broad it is, so it looks more. Okay, a little bit of a breeze there caught me by surprise. So as I was saying, the Aonach Eagach ridge looks more impressive from this side. You can't see how broad it is, so it looks like a narrower ridge. When you come to this point, the path goes to the right. Because it's hard rock, there's no wear, and I followed the Weir and it just went to nowhere, so just keep to the right. You're going straight up and you can see the path in the distance. So as long as you're going over there, you can't go far wrong. It's a bit unusual. The wind is definitely coming from this direction, and when we're on the top of that Munro, it was all very bright and white cloud, but it is definitely changing and getting very grey in the direction we're going, which was the forecast. I think the top should stay clear. The cloud is at a higher altitude, but it will rain and thunderstorm at some point. There is a nice little burn here. You could fill up your water, so you don't have to fill up at that first stream when I filled up. There's easy access to clean water here. That's quite handy. I might get easy access to a lot of water soon. I think the skies are going to open up. Just looking back, I've come to the point that you turn up to the left and go up onto this Wee Aonach Eagach bridge. We're going to go straight up here. The rain's come on a little bit. The wind is going in two directions. High up it's going kind of south, from the south to the north, but it's also coming from the east to the west. So the wind's hitting me from the east, but the clouds are going kind of north, even slightly northeast. Quite strange. Stob Ghabhar up there. Nice loching down there. Might be a nice place to wild camp. I'd expect to be protected from most of the wind down there. It's quite a crater. And that looks like that would be a nice ridge walk to go up that side and along. Don't know what it's like up there. I think it'll be okay. I'm quite sure there's a path on the map that goes right across from the left there, up and over and across to the right. So a short section to get up onto the ridge here. That section was a little bit steep, but there's lots of good rock that's fixed in place that you can step on as you make your way up. The rest of this looks, reasonably steep, but not as steep as that bit. More scree. I don't think you'll have any trouble getting up here. It's not exposed. Walk Highlands Walk describes this as being quite exposed. Doesn't feel like it to me. I'll give a report once I get to the top. Maybe there's a bit that I've forgotten about. The rain just came on there. It also went off again.
actually on now. On the way up, you'll come to a rocky section. It looks like the path is up there on the left hand side at the top of the rocks, but there's probably other routes. There's been a few different bits on the way up that you can go left and right. As long as you keep going up to the top here, up the middle, you should be okay. So far the path is quite clear, a little bit loose rock but nothing difficult. I don't feel that it's exposed. I mean, you're going up a steep slope, but you don't feel like if you slipped you'd fall anywhere. Rain everywhere, top's still clear. And I think we're almost at the top of this ridge. I think it's just over there. And there's a little rock there that indicates the top of that path coming up. We're on the Wee Aonach Ridge. The rainstorm's passed for now. It is quite windy on the ridge, so I'm just back a little bit so I can talk. Once we get to that rock, you turn right, go up, it goes down a little bit, and then you go right up the edge there to Stob Ghabhar. Looks like Bidian over there. Bidian Nambian. And I think those points are Buckleth more. Certainly that one at the end, and I think that's the middle top. I don't think we can see the second top. And the sun's back out. So once on this ridge, you do want to be careful of your right hand side. There are big drops down there. A little bit of a narrower ridge to go along here, and then we come up to the high point, turn right. There's about 100 metres of ascent to the summit of Stob Ghabhar and about a kilometre of walking from here. Looks to me that that's the narrowest bit. There are drops, but it's not that narrow. I went on the steepest section. You can go on the other side, it's an easier path. It's just a walk. You don't have to hold onto the rocks, there's no scrambling. I'll add the caveat that if it's extremely windy, and I mean like 70 mile an hour gusts, that could blow you off it. So it is weather dependent. But in reasonable weather, there's no issues with this ridge. And as always, I'm keeping to the highest point of the ridge. It looks like people are trying to go down and around there. It's probably just goats, to be honest. But go up this way, it's going to be easier. Not far until we're on the side of that mountain there. You can actually make out a line of fence posts lead you all the way to the top. I don't know if I'm going to get there before this comes in. Might be lucky. It's a very mixed day for the weather. the summit of Stob Ghabhar. So you've got Buccleuch of Moor there, the big one. You can actually make out Ben Nevis in the Camor Gerrigaret. Now the big Aonach Eagach ridge is over there. It's probably quite hard to tell. One of those ridges that are rippling along in the horizon. And then the big pointy one there is Bidian Nambian. And over there, I think that light top is where Schoolhouse Ridge is. And then after that, I'm not so sure. Yeah, getting the sun now. So, timed it well for getting to the summit. It's a bit breezy. But it's not cold. The van's parked way back down there beside the water. And it's 10:30 in the morning. So just over, well, 3 hours to get here. It's not bad. Going to head down from the summit, retrace our steps back down to the end of the Aonach Eagach ridge down there, and then you kind of just keep going straight on. Further down we'll head to the left a little bit, go down the side of the waterfalls. It gets a little bit steeper there. I think that's probably going to be the trickiest bit going down on the way out. Back down to the bike and it's like back to the van. Certainly doesn't look like it's going to get that bad now. The wind is coming from straight ahead. There is some bad stuff over there, but I think that's been passed earlier, so we'll see how it goes. Should be fairly obvious, but there is a big drop on your right hand side as you ascend here, on your left hand side descending. Just stick to the middle of the path. So heading on down, keep going straight on. You can see the path on the ridge there apparently. Keep going down. Just come down off the summit, following the path. We do curve round to the left here, you don't follow the fence post line. Some people have, there's a very faint path going along the post line, but we're going to go bend down to the left, and I think it's at the actual cairn for the highest point on the Aonach Eagach ridge here that we turn left, sorry, at that point we turn right and go down, and it should be a clear path. So at that cairn, came up over there earlier on, going down this way now. Hopefully you can hear me. And that's actually Ben Doran over there. Looks quite different from this angle. Another one of my favourite walks. And there's the sun catching the summit of Ben Doran. The path is going to keep going straight on and then start to gently bend round to the left and eventually join up. You can see the river down there, so probably about straight ahead it joins up with the path that I started on this morning. After that it's a straight walk down to the schoolhouse and then to the left and back out. Stopped there to put on some sunblock. You don't have to do that very often in Scotland. And then a big cloud came out and blocked the sun. Yeah, it does look to be moving quite quickly. Having a little bit of a break. Having a drink. Yeah, it's turned out a lot better than I thought it would. Bit of luck, I'll get back to the van before the rain comes on. So it gets a bit steeper as you come down the side of that waterfall. You can see the path down there, that's where we're heading towards. Crosses the river and then back on the path that I came in on. That does look inviting. It's a really warm day when you're out of the wind. For the water flows. I'm practically down that steep section with the waterfall. None of it is too difficult. You can just walk down. There's some big steps. Having walking poles makes it quite easy. But there's no scrambling, there's nothing awkward. It's just some A little bit boggy on the way up and down, not too bad. So at this point the path bends to the left. We cross the stream here and join the path on the other side. It also looks like you could have maybe crossed over earlier or even come down the other side of that waterfall, but the side I came down was nice and easy, so I would recommend that. Cross over to that path and then straight on out. I think I might have forgotten to switch the camera back on for the time lapse. Not sure, so there might be a bit missing. If there is, you just walk down from where I stopped to replace the battery at the waterfall there. Straightforward walk down to here. And on we go. So this bit of the river to cross could get more difficult if there's a lot of rain recently. There are stepping stones in the river, but even just now some of them are under the water surface. And then you've got just a wee climb up here. I wouldn't really call it a scramble, but there's just a little bit to climb up. Rejoin the path from this morning and then head south. There was a couple of big steps there to go up. It wasn't really climbing. The worst part was the clegs that were wanting their lunch. Back down at the gravel road, turn left. This gravel road is a bit tricky to cycle on. It's had a fresh topping up of sort of seaside pebbles and they're not compacted down, so it's a bit loose underneath the tyres. About 2 kilometre cycle back to the road, back to the van. I'm back at the car park. As always, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Very mixed weather. And there are even portaloos. 2 of them look okay, one looks like it needs a service. It's 6:20 PM, exactly 12 hours from when I left for the walk this morning. I'm in my camper van and you can hear the rain. And that is